we don't have our screen today, so there's going to be a little bit more writing on my part. So basically, we're going to start today with a whole bunch of different ways to start to edit a string. And one question that I believe came up in this class, it may have been in my other programming class, but it says we surround a. We talk about like Alice's cat, for example. The problem becomes really quickly. There's another quote, a single quote right in there. So how do we print that? Because Python will say it'll say Alice. This is a string, and then it said is cat is something else. I don't know what that is, and it'll give you an error. So one way to do it, to start it out, is double quotes. Double quotes allows you to use the single apostrophe just by changing this to this. Yes.
What if what if the string, you have both single quotes and double quotes inside it?
We'll get to that. It's coming. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I won't teach you specifically. I don't know. But anyway, here's the double. Here's your double quote way. This will give you Alice's cat. It'll understand exactly that that's supposed to be for you. Apostrophe. Hello. So this is supposed to be for an apostrophe. But maybe you don't like double quotes. You have something against them. I don't know. You hate repeated small characters. I don't know. It hurts your eyes or something. Anything. So what you can do is you can still get this quote. You don't have to have double quotes to have a apostrophe. The other way you can do it is you have what's called an escape sequence or an escape character. So an escape character lets you do something that Python would otherwise not let you do. For example, specifying that this isn't actually to end my string. What I want it to do is to give me, the apostrophe. I want to get the actual Alice's cat part. So the way escape characters work, you generally just add a backslash and then the character that you want, and you're good to go. So, for example, if you want Alice's cat and you have something against double quotes, you can do this. Get a backslash, and then like that. So this will give you just Alice's cat. There's a couple of these escape sequences that are worth knowing. There's single quote, double quote, so single quote, double quote, backslash. So you can actually print out a backslash, and you can also do the popular one is new line as well, and there's also one that's /t for tab. So we're going to do a couple of these. Basically, try out with the single quotes and escape sequence and the double quotes, just to kind of see what it is. So you probably yes. I'm late. No, I can explain it quickly. Okay, guys. So go for. You can type Alice's cat. You can type your own cat's name. Make sure you're trying to use the apostrophe so that and then you try and correct it with either double quotes or the backslash. Yes.
Is there any functional difference between those prints? No, the methods of using the slash.
The methods of using
they
all do the same. Well, they'll all give you whatever this is. So this gives you the like this. This gives you this. This gives you that. This gives you a new line, and these two are a little bit different, and we'll cover those in a sec.
Okay, but if you put a backslash before anything else has no effect, right?
There are a couple letters, but yeah, usually it won't. Yes.
I think I left something at Berkeley Academy. I left my mouse.
Do you want to go get it?
Yeah.
You can go get that. So, like I said, just give it create 3 strings basically, or I guess 2, 1 of each. So Get one. Feeling good about that? Printed out or tried using apostrophe? So there's one more kind of weird thing is I'm gonna specifically talk about this one. So if you try to print out Alice's cat, it'll give you the Alice's cat with the apostrophe. However, you can tell it to specifically avoid that, which is basically what you want is to give it what's called a raw string. So a raw string means ignore everything, any kind of weird backslashes, escape sequences, print whatever is between the quotes, whatever is there. Ignore the escape sequence. So what you can, basically, if you were to print it, it'll look like this. Is it good? Yes. So if you go like that, it'll interpret that you want a raw string. So all this will come out exactly as you see it. If you want, you can try that with the little R and. You good? Tried that out too? Okay. So, really quick, we're going to go talk about these two, \n and \t. So, \n is the escape sequence for new line. So this doesn't actually type out new line. It takes whatever text you have and then puts it on a new line. So if you're in the middle of typing something and you put /n, then it'll immediately put it on the next line. Finally, we have \t, which gives us tab. Tab is, when you think about it, just roughly 5 spaces. It'll move it just straight over. So again, we're going to do, try adding in between like a word, or maybe in the middle of a word, try adding a \n, and then t, or and a \t, I should say.
So what does the R do?
The R?
Yeah.
The R says make it a raw string. When it's a raw string, then it'll print out whatever's between the quotes that comes up. It'll ignore any escape sequence, and just print it out fully. You will most likely get an error if you ignore the backslash, though, on that. I'm pretty sure you'll need the backslash to tell it that this is the whole string you want to print out, but the R will just print that out anyway, so it's kind of weird to have this in the middle. Okay. So all right. So there are times where you can use new line and tab to kind of get a single string, and you can put, if you want to put every single word on a new line, you could put \n in between every single one instead of having a bunch of print statements. The better way to do it, we have what's called multi-line strings, and basically how they work is you give 3 double quotes or 3 single quotes, and then you can type on multiple lines. So this ignores any indentation. If you remember that indentation is how it tells what goes where. The moment you start typing a block, like a multi-line quote, it doesn't care about indentation. So for example, we could do hello, welcome to Python. So if you try to print this out, it'll actually give it to you on 3 lines.
Wait, so if you how do you explain if you have to push insert between each one?
What now?
Never mind.
Okay. So a really quick one. Think up a nice multi-line string.
Does that print it out, or do you have to write print?
You have to print this if you want to see it. This will just assign the variable a multi-line string.
So 3 quotation marks signs then?
Yeah, 3 double quotes or 3 single quotes.
Oh.
Python. All right, everyone got this one down too now? We feeling it? There's going to be a lot more string stuff we're going to keep doing. So there's one thing that we can do as well. We use so you guys know comment, our nice pound symbol, or hashtag, if you want to call it that. But so we use this for single line comments. It says anything to the left of it then doesn't matter. Don't read that as part of my syntax and code. So sometimes we want to have multi-line comments where we type a whole bunch of, like a block of information, maybe to help out the next person trying to read your code. So the format is almost exactly the same. You just give the triple quotes, and then you can type something like, for my use only. No touchy. So you can do what's called a multi-line comment, just like that, just in case some text within the triple quotes. Again, it will interpret everything around the triple quotes as part of a string that you basically aren't assigning to anything. So it keeps it as a comment. So with that, we're going to move into with indexing and slicing. So strings, we did a lot of slicing already kind of with strings. So we're going to cover it one more time, a little bit faster, as well as getting specific letters. So let's say I have a string, welcome to Python. So I have this string right here. Let's give it a name. So basically when we look at this, we can actually get individual letters from it. So the way we used slicing before is we used brackets, and we gave usually numbers. We put a number in here, sometimes a colon. So the cool thing is we can actually request individual characters from it. So we tried to print this. Oops. If we try to print just this will actually give us just the W. So the way it does that is it splits up the word into basically singular indexes by the amount of letters it has. So this is starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is a white space, 8, 9, 10, another white space, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Just like that, okay? So I can actually request any number of these. So the other thing you can do, remember, you can give a negative value and it'll backtrack from the end. Give us -2, gives us O. And then finally, you can do the slicing where you request the range of values. Let's go from 0 to 7, I guess.
You have to write strl before just write strl before. Yeah.
Oh, I just assigned it to a variable, just so the code, because you're going to do basically this. And this will give me welcome. So, really quick, think up a string. Give it, you don't have to use a multi-line string or anything, just one nice big string. Give it like, a couple words in it, and then try accessing a couple of these. Try at least one slice, as well as a couple index accesses. Yeah. Yes.
Oh wait, what happens if you don't put like a number in the slice?
If you don't put a number,
Just like for
so it'll make an assumption for you. So when you slice, it'll make a couple. Whoops. So there's basically a number here, a colon, and a number here, and it basically makes assumptions for you based on what you do and don't include. So if you include two numbers, it knows exactly what to do. If you don't include numbers, it'll say, if this is empty, this area before the quotation, it assumes that this is 0, unless you specify otherwise. Over on the other side, it assumes this is the length, the max length of it. So it'll give you every single thing. The actual numerical value is length plus 1. Yes.
The same STRL is not defined.
When you did this up here,
Oh.
yeah, you got to assign this to. I just made this a variable so I could access it. So sorry, to go back to the slicing thing really quick. So basically, you can actually just do this and give it just a dot, or you could just do this. You don't even have to include the colon at that point. These are both equivalent, and this will give you the whole thing. Yes.
What if you have a multi-line string that needs to have a three what are the single punishments called again?
Apostrophes.
Three apostrophes in a row.
3 apostrophes. Oh, I erased it. Escape sequence. In a multi-line, so if you have like this, for example,
I know, but
maybe I really, really need.
I thought raw strings ignored escape sequences.
This is a multi-line string.
I
It's
know,
not
but
raw.
I know, but if you have a raw multi-line string, then
You have a raw multi-line string, then it's going to ignore that there's an escape sequence there in the first place. So the point, if you printed out something raw, you get exactly what you type right there. If you wanted the 3 quotes, you definitely want to just include the 3 quotes and then do the escape sequence 3 times. So are we feeling this? The little kind of accessing by index, each kind of individual letter. Feeling good? Okay. So the other cool thing is we can the most useful, at least in my opinion, the most useful one is you can look for some information inside of another string. So for example, maybe we're talking about my welcome to Python string. And I'll give it my 1 again. So let's the cool thing is I can actually give it some logic, and I can use the in and not in to find out, like, let's say I'm looking for welcome. So I can actually ask for welcome from this string, and it'll give me back some answer if it is or isn't. So for this, it's true, so it'll give me back true. So this is an expression you can actually use when you're doing like if checks, for example. If, else, the same thing. The important thing to know is it is case sensitive. So if I ask for the whole uppercase version of welcome, it will return false because it's looking for the exact capitalization as well. Yes.
Do you have to print out? Do you have to write print before?
Oh, for this?
Yeah.
Yes. If you want this, if you want to see this come out, you have to print it. I mean, the other option you could do is you could put it in. You could do if, and then you could insert this line of code in your if check. as well, and then you could print out something if it was true or not. That's another option. This is probably a little bit faster though. So really quick, I would say do like at least 2 of these. Try to give it a string and then compare it to something you already have. Try giving different capitalizations. You could actually even check if the space, like the spacing is correct. You could do 2 spaces against 1 or something to get a false. Feeling good about that one now? Good. Typing. Good, everyone? Okay. So, the next couple of ones are a couple other methods that do uppercase and lowercase. So, this is kind of a weird problem. You're kind of comparing for like welcome, but what if you don't capitalize one letter, like your first W, then it'll return false, even though what you really wanted was to check it was just welcome. So we have methods called upper, lower, is upper, and is lower. That'll give us information. So for example, I'm going to take welcome, and then I can call upper on it. And what that does is it takes my string already, and it says it'll give me. Or let's make it. If we were to print str2, would give us welcome in all caps. There's also a lowercase one. We can kind of do the exact same thing again. And we can do give us exactly everything in lowercase, yes.
Is that STRZ?
I'm using numbers, 1 and 2. So this was 1, this is 2. So again, and also, you can also use is upper and is lower. They look very similar. It's the same thing. So we could do, it'll give us, it's the same kind of expression logic where we can get a true or false. So we could say str2 is upper. And this will give us back, well, my W, I'll make my W more capital, so it looks a little bit more. So it goes back to false, because the W is capital. Because the W is capital, but nothing else is. Even if the first letter is. The same thing is true for is lower. Also give us false, because again, that first W was capitalized. Things that aren't letters will automatically give you false, by the way. So if you try to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you try to call is upper on it, it'll just say no. This isn't words, so it's false. Yes.
What if you have a string that contains letters and numbers?
False. Any number is not a letter, so it'll
Then how do you capitalize a string that has letters and you want to capitalize those but not numbers?
Oh, you can capitalize the letters. It just won't capitalize the numbers because it doesn't know how.
You said it would give an error message.
For is upper. So sorry. So just upper will capitalize letters. Is upper will say, are these all letters and are they all uppercase? Okay. Actually, wait, I may have misspoken. I think it will ignore numbers. My bad. It'll be false if it's only numbers. This will be true. I should be more clear. So this will be true. So let's do ABC 1, 2, 3. Is lower. This will be true because every letter in it is lowercase. I misspoke. Sorry. Okay. So just to be a little clear on that, it's when there are no letters at all. It's only numbers. It'll automatically give you false back.
Wait, so the is upper has to make sure everything is uppercase, right?
Yeah, every letter is uppercase. Numbers it ignores, like parentheses or like any other random characters it ignores.
Okay.
So you can get. So the important thing to remember is that upper and lower return a string. They give you like a string of information with either all the letters in upper or lowercase. Is upper and is lower give you back true or false if the string is all uppercase or is all lowercase. Yes.
So why would str2 is upper return false?
Capitalize my W. Sorry. I can make it bigger again. Here. So str2, so this is capital. And then these are all lowercase. So it can't be either all uppercase or all lowercase. That's why they're both false. If this capital W was lowercase, then is lower would be true. So really quick, 2 things you can do is really create a string, make it lowercase, try is lower on it, then do an uppercase string with one lowercase letter and a number, and do is upper again. Wait, backwards. All uppercase, one lowercase, and one number. Then check it for is upper. Finally, one last thing you can do is give it a string like hello. Call .upper on it. Then call is upper. And try changing this.
Wait, I don't get a true or false.
Did you print it? Sorry.
Oh.
If you do the console, if you're on ID idle, and you're on like the command line, it'll print this out automatically back to you. If you're running code, it won't tell it to you unless you ask for it. Yes.
So when I printed out str2 is upper, I still got true, even though I capitalized it.
And you can put everything else as lowercase?
Yeah.
Like, capital W, lowercase el. Is upper will return false on that one. Did you call anything like upper like before that?
I called it print lower. I didn't say it is lower. I just printed it as lower.
Oh, the dot lower print the string with all lowercase. And then
I did print the regular one, so it prints all uppercase. And then I printed str2 lower, so it was all lowercase. And then now I printed out str2 is upper, but it returns true.
Okay, now I'm getting a little bit confused. If you do str2, are you just printing out dot upper, or are you changing str2 each time?
I'm not changing it.
You're not changing it? Then I'll have to see. I'm fairly certain you're making an adjustment to it. If it's got uppercase or lowercase, then it's all uppercase. You made it uppercase without upper when you stored it.
Oh.
So if you store something as this will actually store that. Yes.
What's the purpose of a period in students?
In a period?
Yeah.
So it's called the dot operator, and what it means is so basically you have a type that you're talking about. Like, so you got like your string, for example. So this is some type. This could be an integer, string. The important thing to remember is that it's a type. We're not talking about some specific string. It's just any string. And there's operations that I want to be able to do on any string. And Python says you should be able to capitalize an entire string. So the one way to do it is to make a method called upper, and then you pass in some string. The other way to do it is we have what's called, you do operations on a string. So very specific to strings, you can call functions on them. So it means you don't have to pass anything in. It's just a little bit quicker.
Is it the same for, let's say, random.randint?
Yes.
But
Random is a thing in the module.
No, but random isn't a string or an integer or a.
Yeah, random is again, it's something that comes from its module. So then you can call. So it's called random. From the module random, you can call random. That's how it knows where to go and find it. So on that example. Is there a capital I? I may be wrong. No? Okay, cool. So you imported random. Or wait, I'm sorry. Wrong programming language. So it basically said, that's how it finds it from here. It goes, oh, I need to go over there and find it. So that's how it finds the upper part. It goes into the string. There's actually a string module that you don't ever import. It assumes you probably need it because it's really important. It's very fundamental. All right, so we getting a feel for this? Upper, lower, kind of weird.
Wait, if there's a random.randint, could you do a random.rand string str?
You know, I don't know, actually. I don't use random that often. That may be something you could look at. I'm not super familiar with all the extra modules of Python. You're probably best off just going for Google on that one. All right, so we're gonna do a couple other ones. There are these. So we've done is upper, is lower. We got like three or four other ones. So for example, on that number one, we have what's called is decimal. Is decimal. And this returns true if the string is only numbers. Okay, so basically you can call it on, and you can get his decimal right out of that. So this will work. It'll even work if there's no decimal. I should probably. This will work too. It's just looking for all numbers. Then we have. Then the next one is alpha. So this is just making sure that everything is a letter, capital, lowercase. You're just making sure it's something alpha.
Wait, so alpha just make sure it's a letter, right?
Yeah, just letters. Then if you heard the term alphanumeric, you may have seen this when typing your password or usernames. They use AL and UM, I believe. Yes. Is AL and UM, which means is alphanumeric. And this is just looking to make sure that whatever you put in is letters and numbers. And so just to be clear, there's things that aren't accepted here are like the $, for example. Those are called special characters. $, @ those are the kind of things that won't be accepted in is alphanumeric. Okay? So
Won't be or will be?
won't be. Basically anything where you hit shift and press the button on a number is not accepted. As well as like period, the less than and greater than signs. Things that aren't letters and aren't numbers, basically, kind of on your keyboard. An open parenthesis. Those are all return false. So really quick, I would say just create a couple of these. Print out the answer, kind of see what isn't accepted in alphanumeric, alpha. You can try capitals, non-capitals, numbers in decimal form. Actually, one thing I should also mention for sure, by the way, a space is not alphanumeric. Just to be clear, a space is not alphanumeric because it's not a letter, it's not a number. It's kind of like an absence of space of anything. But if you keep getting false when you try to type something like welcome to Python and then say is it alphanumeric, it'll say no, it's not. So just a warning, that's not an alphanumeric character. You getting those? Feeling good? Make sense? Okay. So, a couple others we can do. If you guys have seen title case, when you title like a book, like that's like capitalizing every first letter. So this is title case. You can do is title to get title case. That's another one. You can also do is space. Like actually, this one is title. There's is space, which checks if whatever you pass in is blank, a space, or a new line character. Spaces, tabs, new line characters, things that create space in your text. All those are valid. We'll give you true on is space. Those are just some other ones. They're less important. These are the more important ones: decimal, alpha, alphanumeric. So really quick, we're going to do small programming thing for. You can kind of like validate user input this way. The last time we used a Boolean value because we didn't get to this yet. I wanted to wait on that. But so this is how you can validate user input. For example, we're looking for maybe what we want them to input is a number. So we can do something like this. We can do like. And then we can basically take an input, all true, take some input if it's a decimal, and then we can call what's called break. So what this will do is you won't be able to get out of your loop until you give it a number. Probably something better to kind of see how this will run. I'm going to add one more line right here. Now let's add all of this in a while true. So this will work. If you want to continually, I would go test this out really quick. Basically, you can input. It'll just keep trying to prompt you for a number to give it a number, and then it'll go, okay, fine. When we validated user input before, this is a good way to do it with a while and a break.
Wait, so what does break do?
Break breaks out of the loop.
Oh.
I know it sounded kind of weird. When you exit a loop, there's exiting and there's braking. Braking is kind of an abrupt way to do it. Okay, imagine like you drive your car, you're cruising along, brake. You're kind of like, whoa, I'm out. Whereas usually you want to end your while statement with some kind of condition. But this is okay to do for user input. Yes.
It gives me invalid syntax.
Where? What line?
N equals input.
I understand you can click the command, so if you change the name of the variable, it should be fine.
Oh, sorry. You're right. My bad. Keyword. Whoops. Sorry, my bad. Let's name it something else. Yeah, my bad. Yes.
I will make the enter number go down.
Go back.
Like please down.
Make it go down.
How do you make this like go to the next slide? Can you?
You probably want to open up an actual file.
Yeah, like put it file.
Right click on the actual project. No, wait. You had a project called Untitled.
What?
You had a project called Untitled. Click out real quick. Anywhere. You just want to get the menu. Okay. Click right here on this Untitled one. Cool. Open this up. And then now you can right click on Untitled one. New Python file. Name something. Intro to Python or something. Then you can write multiple lines of code like this.
Wait, so how do you can't make variables that are gonna have stands?
Yeah. Oh, you mean that are keywords? Yes, that was my bad. I'm sorry.
What if you,
You can, yeah, sorry, there are times where I accidentally do that. So you can name this like you can name this like next. And so there's definitely not going to be a keyword for that. For example. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yes.
Does is space include like new lines?
Is space include new? Yes, it does. It's looking for only spaces, tabs, new lines. I think those are the three. Space, tab, and new line.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I put is space in this one and new lines not working.
Sorry, space and new line and it didn't work? It's false.
I think space might work, but new line isn't.
New line doesn't. Oh,
Yeah, it just continues to print.
it just continues. Wait, it can. Oh, for is space.
Yeah.
Well, because you hit space and then enter, and then.
Just enter.
Oh, enter is a blank string then.
Okay.
That will be false. Sorry, I should probably mention anything blank. If you give a blank space and it is like something with no text at all. If you do just like this, with nothing, no space, no nothing, it's just blank, and you try to pass into is decimal, is alpha, is number, is title, is anything, because it's blank, it'll return false automatically because it doesn't know how to evaluate nothing basically. So it gives you the safe bet that it's false. Yes.
Actually, can you explain what that code is also?
What this code does?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is, see, the first thing you go into is this true. So whenever you get to this condition, you try to evaluate if it's true or not. It's pretty easy to evaluate as true because it's always true. It'll never change. So this actually will run forever. We haven't looked at the code below it yet, though. So now we print out enter a number. I'm sorry that this is now not indented correctly. It should be enter 1. But so then it enters number. It asks for an input. So we create a variable called nextIn. Take input. Then what we do is we check if what input they give is a decimal number or any kind of number. And then if they give an input that is a decimal number, we go to a break. Break breaks us out of this loop. Okay? It's like a get out of jail card. So this will jump us. If there's some code below it that's not in the while loop, it'll go to that. If it isn't a number, it'll get to the end. It'll evaluate the while loop again. It's still true, and then it'll print out asking for a number. Yes.
I don't know how to execute this.
There's a run button in the top right. It's green. Looks like a play button.
There's no green. It's not showing the green. It's not showing the green.
There's a drop down. This also isn't a string. And just click on.
Oh.
And then hit that. Now the green button pop up. Okay, so any question on this code really quick before we move on? This is just kind of a little snippet to show how this could be used. Yes.
When I enter in a decimal, it asks for it. And when I enter in a regular number, it breaks.
Yeah.
Is that what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, it's looking for just a number.
Okay.
I believe the decimal will be interpreted as a period, actually, if you try to input a decimal number. I'm trying to think now. Not 100% sure. Let me double check. is not. Okay, decimals are interpreted as periods because it's a string. You could do an integer cast then, and then evaluate if it's a number. But that doesn't help that much. All right, are we feeling good on that then? This is kind of the couple of these is title, alphanumeric, what's not. So we're gonna do two more. These are just more string stuff. A lot of these are kind of helpful every once in a while. There's sometimes you're like, man, I wish I knew if this was all capital or if this started with a capital letter, for example. And this is a nice little trick. So we have these two ones called starts with and ends with. So starts with and ends with basically go to the very start or the very end and look for exactly what you pass in. So there'll be some bigger string. I'm going to use welcome to Python again as my example. If I can spell. So here's maybe my string 1. I have welcome to Python. So I can call our 1.starts with. And I can say does it start with welcome? So welcome will give me back. So welcome will give me back true or false if it does or does not start with exactly what I've typed. Okay. So it's basically when it'll look for how many characters this is, and then make sure that every single character is that way. So just to be a little more clear, this is a lowercase w this time. So that the lowercase w here will match up. So this will give me true. Okay, if we were to print this out. Or if you're on the console, you don't have to print it out. It just gives me true. You can do ends with as well. And we'll just do Python. This will give me true as well. On this one, it backtracks from however many this is and then compares it from there. Is there any question with this one? This one's a little bit more.
So it checks to see if it starts with that and that's it?
Yeah. It goes from the start and follows it right through this. You can imagine the reverse happens on here. It starts at the end and then evaluates this backwards. You can imagine that too. I'm getting to probably my all-time favorite string method. So are we clear on this one? Again, yeah, you may want to try one or two of these. Again, you can use a string you've already typed before. Try starts with, ends with. You can double check also if you capitalize different parts of it, it'll give you false. You gotta have the same exact capitalization. Or you can even use is upper and is lower inside of these. Just as an interesting thought. Oh. Are we good on that one? All right. So here comes a little bit more interesting one. So when we talk about like lists in English, not the Python ones, we usually give lists with separated by commas. So like butter, milk, and then like eggs. So there's a couple of methods you can call it. There's one called split and join. So when we call split, we may have a string. Sorry, I'll make this a string. So if this is our string and we call split on it, here, I'll make the spaces. What happens is it'll give us a list. So we call it on a string and it gives us a list. Okay, so
Wait, so split turn the string to a list.
yeah.
But what if it doesn't have any? It's only one statement. Does it only work for strings that have multiple?
It'll give you a list of one. So, which again, I was going to say you should definitely try this one out. So, right? So when we call, I spelled split wrong. When you spell split correctly, it will, basically what it does is it looks for a space, and then it will break it up into a list. So if I have some list, I'll call it list 1. This will give me the list butter, milk, eggs. So this will give me a list from a string. The other one that's kind of cool is join. It's basically the opposite. You have a list, join, and this gives you a string. Okay. We can do the reverse. The thing that's weird about join is it's called a little bit differently than the other ones. So with join, you have to specify how you want. It's called a delimiter. What delimiter you want to put in front of it. So let's say I'm gonna make my delimiter. That's what you do first. So maybe I want to join my buttermilk egg string with an underscore and an ampersand. Maybe I want to do this. I'm feeling fun today. Then I call .join. Once I call join, I can give it a list. So for example, I have list 1. Now what this is going to give me back, remember this is list with a join, so it gives me a string. So maybe I have some string 3. Printing out this would give me, this string will give me butter, an underscore, an ampersand, milk, an underscore, an ampersand, and then eggs. And then an underscore. Oh no, wait, sorry, not on the last one. All with the ending. It doesn't trail with one. It just adds it to all the middle ones. Yes.
When I try to do that, it says process finish, but nothing shows up.
You want to print it.
I know I do.
What code did you run? Did you run like this exact thing?
No.
And then you have to print like list 1. You did not call a method. It's split with this.
Oh.
Is that dot join?
Yeah, this is sorry. More clear. So how you call the join one is the first thing you call it on. It's kind of weird. You make a string that's your delimiter, which basically means whatever goes in between it. Then you call join, and then you give it the list you want. And so it says every time in between every element, I'll add this, and then give it to you as a string.
Is that what the and symbol does?
Yeah. No, I added this for fun. You can add anything here. Sorry.
Never mind.
If you wanted
Like if you just wanted
42 each time, for example, now it'll print butter 42, milk 42, eggs 42,
Oh, okay.
for example. So whatever you put here will always be the middle part. Yes.
Is there any way to turn a string into the dictionary?
Not really, because a dictionary, the important part is having a key value pair, and a string is mainly one thing of information. So if you had maybe another set of values and you wanted to map maybe your letters to something else, then maybe, but there's no thing to do that like automatically. So was this clear? Was join and split a little clear? This is my favorite one. I love split personally. One thing you can do with split, I should probably also mention. So split by default looks for spaces. Split also can take other things, like this one with join. I believe join will automatically also look for a space if you don't put this right here. If you just call join. I'm not 100% sure on that one though. But if you can specify like a comma, and it'll look for everything separated by commas. So, but yeah, by default it looks for space.
So join just adds whatever you add before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, then is there any way to turn two lists into a dictionary by mapping each value to one string to the value in the other string as a key?
Yeah, there's not a function that does that for you automatically. You could make a loop and do it. Yeah. I will leave that as an exercise for you to kind of think about. But I will say you have a for loop. For I in range. Some number here. And then you could make a new dictionary above it, and then each time add the first one with the second one. The first string's for whatever number using I, and the second one's letter. That would work. All right. Have we tried a couple of these? Split really quick with comma, maybe with a space. Try join once. Join's a little bit weirder. We good then? Filling this? Still typing? Yes.
What would happen if you use the join function but without value in the parentheses?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure to be honest. I don't use join all the time. I believe it will assume it'll add a space each time. I am not 100% sure. It may add a comma in a space or a space. But I don't know, to be honest. I've only ever used it specifically by adding a space here. Like when I used to just do this and then call join, so then it gives me a nice space or a comma and a space, either one. we feeling good about this now? Kind of makes sense. Split, join, looks for stuff, merges it or adds it. So we're gonna do a really quick. So we're gonna do a really quick programming thing. So there's a module in Python that I think is pretty fun. It's called Paperclip. Paperclip. So what this has, it's got two things. It's got a copy and a paste. And what it actually does is lets you send things to your actual computer. It's not just a program that runs and kind of is done. So if you call .copy, it'll actually send the text to your clipboard. Then you can paste it outside your program, for example. So really quick, try importing this module, Paperclip. Then where's this? As soon as you get that, you're going to do a copy, and you can add some text, or you could use something from before, your choice. So I'm going to say I want to copy hello from Python. So I can copy this, and then I can also paste it. Can you guys use Paperclip? I don't know if that's a module. I'm not sure if it's standard or not. It may not be. Yes.
If it's not standard, can you just do it import?
Yeah, you should be able to. I'm fairly certain. Maybe.
No module named Paperclip.
Shoot. You have to install it. Darn it. Okay, well, this is cool. I was going to say, do this really quick. That's fine. All right. Do you guys want to move on to the next chapter, or we can do a little miniature homework assignment? Starting class? Sound good? Okay. Okay, so this is going to be pretty fast. It's basically a lot of string manipulation. So the user input one was a fun one. So this one's going to be looking for a pattern. So remember, the important things to remember when on this homework assignment is that you can get information from a string like this. You're basically going to make a phone book. So what you're going to do is you want a dictionary. So you want some dictionary up here. Then what you're going to want to have is a while true. And then you're going to want to take some user input. And so from here, what you want to do is you have this dictionary. You probably we had trouble before taking in multiple names. Are we still having trouble with taking in multiple user inputs before we do this? Are we good then?
Only people in IDE 1 have additional.
Okay, are people using IDE 1? How many people are using IDE 1? I may recommend just installing Python on your computer altogether. So for this, we're gonna get a name and a value. So it's gonna be kind of similar. On his name. So basically, you're gonna want to store their name. You want to store their a number basically. So the only thing that you're going to have to do, remember the validating user input? I want you to validate both of these user inputs to make sure that they're right each time. So once you have 2 valid user inputs, go ahead. I'm going to call my dictionary dict for now. I'll call it phone book. So what you want to do is you want to validate the user input, and the important thing to remember on this one, this is a number, but your phone number looks like this. Okay, so the important thing to remember is there's a hyphen here and a hyphen here, and just remember on your string you can get this index, you can get these indices. So just make sure that it looks like a phone number, okay? You don't have to add the parentheses, you don't have to add the international code, just your local phone number, okay? So basically 2 inputs, validate the input, be able to pull this. So I want the input to look like this. What I want you to store in your dictionary looks like this, okay? Okay, so again, remember you can pull the information out of this, double check it's a number.
Wait, do we have to include the hyphens?
Yes, you have to input the hyphens, and your code will take it out. Okay. So and like I said, remember you can get that index. Once you have a name and then you have a number, just add it to your dictionary. So you have a phone book. You can leave the loop running infinitely. If you want some code at the bottom, or you want some code, you can also check somewhere if it says exit and exit your code. I don't really care. That's not required. Mainly just take 2 inputs, add it to the dictionary each time. Okay? Yes.
In the dictionary, you put like the name and colon and then the number.
Yeah. You're gonna look by name because your key is your name. The value is their phone number. So.
How many values do we need to make in the dictionary?
Get like 3. Oh, you mean to start?
Yeah.
Oh, you can leave it blank. You can just have 1. I'm mainly looking to be able to add just to it repeatedly. So you probably when you're debugging, you're probably going to want to print out the dictionary inside the while loop, but near the bottom. So you probably are going to want to print that out. Again, this is for you guys to do. Validate user input 1, validate user input 2. Break up the string so you get the phone number and a number, and then just add to your phone book. And you have about 5 minutes to start. Maybe you can even finish it in 5 minutes. what do you?
This is,
What's your
this
question?
is, this is correct.
I'm not gonna grade it.
Oh.
You submit it. Make sure that you can add numbers. Make sure that you can add someone's name and number, and then make sure you gotta take out the hyphens. So, I'd also recommend when validating user input, print out something to the console so people know what's going on. So, for example, like print out like enter a name. Again, this is purely by recommendation, so you're not like wondering what's going on with your program. So as long as you print out enter a name each time before it takes input. Yes.
I'm not exactly sure if Python is being installed on my laptop.
So you want to, you can Google, just download Python. So I would download, go to Python. You can type that in Google. It's like the first link at the top, I believe. It's probably like the Python Foundation or something. You can download that. I'd recommend this program called PyCharm. You can download, once you download Python, then download this. The way you create something is you do like new project. Python. It may say pure Python, but Python. Then once you get in, you can write. Oh, you also need here.